Listen, what I'm about to tell you should make you stop everything you're doing right now. Because this is not theoretical. This is happening tonight while you sleep, and it is killing people who think they are perfectly healthy. A retired school teacher, 71 years old, Columbus, Ohio. His name was Harold. He went to bed on a Tuesday night feeling absolutely fine. No chest pain, no shortness of breath, nothing unusual. His wife found him the next morning unresponsive. He was gone before the ambulance arrived. Massive cardiac event. Happened while he slept. And when I looked at everything going on with Harold in the months before that night, I found something his doctor had completely missed. Something millions of seniors are doing right now. Without the slightest idea, it is quietly thickening their blood, stressing their heart, and setting up perfect conditions for stroke and sudden death. The European Heart Journal published a study following over 84,000 adults between ages 60 and 80 for 9 years. What they found was staggering. Individuals who engaged in specific nighttime habits had a 67% higher risk of dying from cardiovascular causes during sleep compared to those who made simple targeted changes to their evening routine. 67%. That is not a marginal difference. That is the difference between waking up tomorrow morning and not waking up at all. Now, I know what some of you are thinking. Doctor, I feel fine. I sleep okay. This doesn't apply to me. And that is exactly the thinking that costs people their lives. The most dangerous cardiovascular conditions never announce themselves. They build silently over months and years, like rust forming inside a pipe. You never see it, you never feel it, until the pipe bursts. Today, I'm walking you through 6 things seniors absolutely must stop doing before bed. These are ranked from number 6 to number 1. And the closer we get to number 1, the more critical it becomes. Number 2 on this list shocked even me when I first reviewed the research. And most of you have no idea you are doing it. Stay with me all the way to the end, because missing even one of these could cost you everything. Before we dive in, leave a comment below and tell me how old you are and whether you have ever woken up in the middle of the night with your heart pounding or feeling short of breath. I read every single comment, and your answers help me create content that serves you better. All right, let's get into it. Coming in at number 6, and this might surprise you because it seems harmless, is eating a large meal within 2 hours of going to bed. I know millions of people do this every night. A late dinner, a big snack, leftovers before turning in. It feels comforting, but here is what is actually happening inside your body, and it is not pretty. When you eat a large meal, your digestive system demands an enormous surge of blood flow. Your heart has to work significantly harder to pump blood to your stomach and intestines. For a 30-year-old, manageable. But researchers at Stanford Medicine found that in adults over 65, what is called postprandial cardiac stress after eating increases blood pressure by an average of 22 points and elevates heart rate substantially for up to 3 hours. Now imagine that happening while you are lying flat, horizontal, asleep, with your body already in its most vulnerable state. When you eat, especially meals high in fats or simple carbs, your body releases a massive amount of white blood cells into your bloodstream. Your immune system temporarily treats that food surge almost like an invasion. This is called postprandial inflammation. Research from the Cleveland Clinic found that in older adults, this inflammatory response is exaggerated and stays elevated for hours longer. This inflammation directly affects your endothelium, the thin layer of cells lining the inside of your blood vessels. Think of it like the non-stick coating inside a pan. When healthy, blood flows smoothly. When inflamed, it becomes sticky, dysfunctional, and that is exactly where clots form, where plaque builds up, where heart attacks and strokes are born. There is also acid reflux and vagal stimulation. When stomach acid travels upward, which happens far more easily when you are lying down with a full stomach, it can trigger irregular heart rhythms. The vagus nerve runs right alongside your esophagus, and when it gets irritated by acid, it sends confusing signals to your heart, sometimes causing arrhythmias, palpitations, even atrial fibrillation. After age 70, your lower esophageal sphincter, the valve that keeps acid down in your stomach, weakens considerably. This makes the problem dramatically worse. The fix is beautifully simple. Finish your last full meal at least 3 hours before bed. If you are genuinely hungry in the evening, a small, easily digestible snack is fine. A few walnuts, half a banana, a small handful of blueberries. The bonus move, pair this with a short 10-minute walk after dinner. Johns Hopkins University found that just 10 minutes of post-meal walking reduces blood glucose spikes by 28% and takes significant pressure off your cardiovascular system during critical nighttime hours. This one change, if you make it tonight, begins protecting your heart immediately. Number 5, and this is one your doctor has almost certainly never mentioned. Nearly 60% of seniors over 70 do this every evening without a second thought.
Taking your blood pressure medication in the morning when you should be taking it at night. A groundbreaking study in the European Heart Journal followed over 19,000 patients over 6 years. People who took their antihypertensive medication at bedtime rather than morning had a 45% lower risk of heart attack, a 49% lower risk of heart failure, and a stunning 66% lower risk of stroke. 66% lower risk of stroke just by changing when you take the same medication. The reason is nocturnal hypertension, a phenomenon where blood pressure spikes dangerously high during early morning hours, typically between 3 hours and 6 a.m. This is the window when most cardiac events and strokes occur. Cardiologists call these the devil hours because that is when the body is most vulnerable. During deep sleep, your body enters a parasympathetic state, rest and digest, heart rate slows, blood pressure drops. But in early morning hours, your body starts ramping up. Cortisol rises, adrenaline trickles in, your sympathetic nervous system, fight or flight, starts activating. In a healthy cardiovascular system, this transition is smooth. But in someone with vascular stiffness, plaque buildup, or endothelial dysfunction, this becomes a stress test. Blood pressure can spike dramatically. If there is a vulnerable plaque or a clot ready to break loose, this is when it happens. When you take blood pressure medication in the morning, it peaks around midday, and by the time you enter that dangerous early morning window, it is wearing off. You are unprotected exactly when you need protection most. When you take it at night, about an hour before bed, it is working at full strength when your body needs it most, guarding you during those devil hours. Critically, do not just change your medication timing without speaking to your doctor first. Every situation is different. Some medications need food, some have specific interactions, but bring this study to your next appointment. Have that conversation. It could save your life. Number 4 is something I call the silent dehydration trap. One of the most underestimated cardiovascular threats facing people over 65. Here is the dangerous irony. Most seniors intentionally drink less water in the evening to avoid waking up for bathroom trips. That instinct makes complete sense. Nobody wants to be up 3 times a night. But what this is doing to your blood while you sleep is genuinely terrifying. As we age, kidneys become less efficient at concentrating urine. The body's thirst mechanism, controlled by the hypothalamus, becomes blunted after age 60. Research from the Mayo Clinic found that older adults can be significantly dehydrated without ever feeling thirsty. The alarm system is broken. When you are dehydrated during sleep, your blood becomes thicker and more viscous. Think of the difference between water flowing through a pipe versus honey. That thick, sticky blood has to be pumped by your heart with far greater effort. Your heart works harder every single beat, all night long, just to move sludge through your arteries. And that thick blood forms clots far more easily. This is exactly how strokes happen. A study in the American Journal of Epidemiology found that adults over 65 who were mildly dehydrated at bedtime had blood viscosity levels comparable to those seen right before a thrombotic stroke. Let me break down the cellular mechanism. Your red blood cells carry oxygen throughout your body. They are designed to be flexible. They squeeze through tiny capillaries, some narrower than the cell itself. When well hydrated, red blood cells are pliable. They bend, they flow. When dehydrated, those cells become rigid. They stick together. This is called red blood cell aggregation. Instead of flowing smoothly like individual cars, they clump together like a traffic jam. When that happens in small vessels of your brain or heart, tissue starts dying from lack of oxygen. There is also hemoconcentration. When you lose water volume from your bloodstream, all other components, platelets, clotting factors, inflammatory markers, become more concentrated, like reducing a sauce on the stove. Everything gets thicker and more potent. That means dramatically higher risk of clot formation. The solution is not to chug water before bed. That will have you in the bathroom all night. Instead, drink a full glass of water with electrolytes, particularly potassium and magnesium, about 2 hours before sleep. This gives your body time to process it, but keeps you hydrated through the night. Foods naturally rich in potassium, like a small sweet potato or a few dried apricots in late afternoon, help maintain hydration without flooding your bladder. Magnesium relaxes arterial walls and lowers blood pressure during sleep. These two nutrients together give your cardiovascular system a gentle protective cushion for the night ahead. If this channel has been helpful, please hit that like button and subscribe. We are a community who believes aging powerfully is absolutely possible. Every like and subscription helps us reach more seniors who desperately need this information. Number 3, breaks my heart because I see it every single week. I saw it firsthand with a patient named Dorothy, 78 years old, from Tucson, Arizona. Dorothy came to me after her second minor stroke in 18 months. She was on all the right medications, she exercised, she ate well. But when I asked about her evenings, she described something I immediately recognized as a serious problem. Every night without fail, Dorothy spent 2 to 3 hours lying in bed scrolling through her tablet. News, social media, family videos, email, screen inches from her face. She had no idea this habit was directly destabilizing her cardiovascular system night after night. The blue light emitted by screens, phones, tablets, televisions directly suppresses melatonin production. Most people think of melatonin simply as a sleep hormone, but researchers at Harvard Medical School demonstrated that melatonin plays a critical role in cardiovascular protection that has nothing to do with sleep. Melatonin acts as a potent antioxidant protecting the lining of blood vessels, the endothelium, from oxidative damage that leads to plaque buildup, arterial stiffening, and ultimately heart attack and stroke. Inside every cell, you have tiny structures called mitochondria, cellular power plants. They produce energy as ATP, but as a byproduct, they also produce reactive oxygen species, ROS. Think of ROS like exhaust fumes from a car engine. A little is normal. Too much becomes toxic. When ROS levels get too high, they damage the cell membrane, DNA, proteins. This is oxidative stress. In cells lining your blood vessels, oxidative stress is the first step toward atherosclerosis, hardening and narrowing of arteries. Melatonin is one of your body's most powerful scavengers of ROS. It sweeps through cells, neutralizing damaging molecules, protecting your vascular system from the inside out. When melatonin is suppressed by nighttime screen use, this protective shield is lowered. You go into the night unprotected. In adults over 70, whose natural melatonin production is already reduced by 75% compared to younger adults, this suppression is devastating. A study from the Journal of the American College of Cardiology found that chronic nighttime light exposure was associated with a 43% increase in major adverse cardiac events in older adults. Blue light exposure at night does not just suppress melatonin, it disrupts your circadian rhythm at a hormonal level. Your circadian rhythm controls the timing of almost every biological process: hormone release, blood pressure regulation, immune function, glucose metabolism. When you expose yourself to bright blue light late at night, your brain thinks it is daytime. Adrenal glands keep pumping cortisol, a stress hormone that should drop at night. Your pancreas keeps releasing insulin at wrong times, leading to blood sugar chaos. Blood pressure never fully dips the way it should during sleep. Dorothy followed my advice: strict no-screen policy after 8 p.m. She started reading actual books, journaling, talking more with her husband. Within 6 weeks, she was sleeping more deeply than she had in years. Within 4 months, her inflammatory markers, specifically C-reactive protein, which measures cardiovascular inflammation, dropped by over 30%. She has not had a cardiac event since. Stop the screens 2 hours before bed. Get cheap blue light blocking glasses if you absolutely must look at a device. But ideally, just stop. Read a book, listen to music, pray, talk to someone you love. Give your brain the signal that the day is over. This is one of the most powerful cardiovascular decisions you can make. Number 2, and I promise this would surprise you, is sleeping on your back. Before you close this video, hear me out because the research is undeniable. When you sleep flat on your back, gravity causes the tongue and soft tissues of the throat to fall backward, partially or fully blocking the airway. This is the primary mechanism behind obstructive sleep apnea, a condition affecting an estimated 50% of adults over 65, the majority of whom have never been diagnosed. Let me explain what happens during these apnea episodes. When your airway gets blocked, oxygen levels in your blood drop. This is hypoxia. Your brain detects this and sounds an emergency alarm. In response, your brain floods your body with stress hormones, cortisol, and adrenaline. Blood pressure can spike to dangerously high levels, sometimes jumping 40 or 50 points in seconds. Heart rate skyrockets. This happens dozens, sometimes hundreds of times per night. Each episode lasts only seconds, brief enough that you never fully wake up, but long enough to cause serious cumulative damage. The American Heart Association formally recognized untreated sleep apnea as a major independent risk factor for hypertension, atrial fibrillation, heart attack, and stroke. A study in the journal Circulation found that adults with moderate to severe sleep apnea had a 58% higher risk of fatal cardiac arrhythmia during sleep. This is how healthy-seeming people die quietly in the night. Every time your oxygen drops and your body floods with adrenaline, the lining of your blood vessels takes a hit. Those endothelial cells become inflamed and dysfunctional. Over time, this repeated injury triggers endothelial to mesenchymal transition. The cells lining your blood vessels start transforming into scar tissue. Your arteries stiffen. They lose their ability to dilate and relax. Blood pressure goes up. Risk of plaque rupture goes up. Everything gets worse. There is also sympathetic overdrive. Every apnea episode activates your sympathetic nervous system. Fight or flight. Normally, this should be quiet at night. But in someone with sleep apnea, it fires all night long. This chronic activation leads to sustained high blood pressure, insulin resistance, weight gain, and dramatically increased risk of sudden cardiac death. If you share a bed, ask your partner whether you snore or seem to stop breathing momentarily. If you sleep alone, record yourself with your phone's voice memo app for one night. The signs are often unmistakable. Loud snoring, followed by silence, followed by a gasp or snort. Sleeping on your side, particularly your left side, which reduces pressure on the heart, is dramatically protective. A simple body pillow behind your back prevents you from rolling over onto your back during the night. For those with confirmed sleep apnea, c'est une chose. A CPAP device is genuinely life-saving. I know it is uncomfortable at first. I know it feels weird. But do not let stubbornness or discomfort keep you from using it. Wear it every single night. It is the difference between waking up and not waking up. And now, number 1, the single most dangerous bedtime habit for seniors. The one that ties all the others together and multiplies every cardiovascular risk I have described today. It is chronic, untreated emotional stress left to fester in the hours before sleep. Think about your typical evening. Do you watch the news, politics, crime, disasters right before bed? Do you lie awake running through worries about your health, your finances, your family? Do you replay difficult conversations or conflicts from the day over and over? If so, you are engaging in what researchers at the University of California, Berkeley call rumination before rest, and its impact on your cardiovascular system is catastrophic. When you experience psychological stress, your body releases cortisol and adrenaline, the same stress hormones triggered by sleep apnea. But in this case, they are sustained. They do not spike and drop. They stay elevated all night long. Chronic evening stress keeps these hormones elevated throughout the night, preventing your blood pressure from completing its natural nighttime dip. Cardiologists call this nocturnal dipping. In a healthy person, blood pressure drops 10 to 20% during sleep. This gives the heart and blood vessels critical recovery time, like taking your foot off the gas pedal and letting the engine cool down. In individuals experiencing chronic stress, this dip never happens. The engine stays revved. The pressure stays high, night after night. A 20-year study by the American Heart Association and Johns Hopkins University found that adults who reported chronic nighttime worry and high evening stress had a 72% higher lifetime risk of fatal cardiovascular events compared to peers with lower evening stress. 72%. After age 70, when the body's ability to regulate cortisol is already diminished by roughly 40%, this effect is even more pronounced. Let me explain what chronic cortisol elevation does at a cellular level. Cortisol is a catabolic hormone. It breaks things down. Short term, during actual emergencies, useful. But when cortisol stays elevated chronically, it starts breaking down the wrong things. It breaks down muscle, bone, suppresses your immune system. Critically, it causes your liver to pump out extra glucose and your fat cells to release fatty acids into your bloodstream. Your body thinks you are in danger and need fuel to fight or run, but you are not running. You are lying in bed. So all that glucose and fatty acids just circulate, damaging blood vessel walls, increasing insulin resistance, promoting inflammation. Over time, this leads to metabolic syndrome, a cluster of conditions including high blood pressure, high blood sugar, abnormal cholesterol, and abdominal obesity, all dramatically increasing risk of heart disease and stroke. Cortisol also directly affects your heart structure. Chronic elevation causes the walls of the left ventricle, the heart's main pumping chamber, to thicken. This is left ventricular hypertrophy. A thickened heart is a stiff heart. It cannot relax properly between beats, cannot fill with blood efficiently. This leads to diastolic heart failure, where the heart cannot pump enough blood to meet the body's needs, even though it is squeezing as hard as it can. Chronic stress also creates an imbalance in your autonomic nervous system. The sympathetic side becomes overactive. The parasympathetic side becomes suppressed. This reduces heart rate variability, HRV. HRV measures variation in time between each heartbeat. High variability is good. It means your heart is flexible and responsive. Low variability is bad. It means your heart has lost adaptability. Research from the Cleveland Clinic showed that low HRV is one of the strongest predictors of sudden cardiac death in older adults. This is what took my friend Harold. Not just one thing, the accumulation, the late meals, the dehydration, the screens, the back sleeping, and underneath it all, a man who worried every night about his retirement finances without ever telling anyone. His cardiovascular system never got the recovery time it desperately needed. The intervention is not complicated, but it must be intentional. 30 minutes before bed, practice what I call a cardiac wind down. Turn off all news and screens. Write down 3 things that went well today. Research from the Greater Good Science Center at UC Berkeley shows this simple act measurably lowers cortisol within 20 minutes. Practice 4-7-8 breathing. Inhale slowly through your nose for 4 counts. Hold your breath for 7 counts. Exhale slowly through your mouth for 8 counts. Do this 4 times. This activates the parasympathetic nervous system, your body's natural calm-down system, and directly lowers heart rate and blood pressure. If prayer or meditation is part of your life, this is its most powerful application, not as spiritual formality, but as genuine physiological medicine for your heart. Pair this with magnesium glycinate, 200 to 400 milligrams, taken 30 minutes before bed. This form of magnesium crosses the blood-brain barrier and directly calms the nervous system while simultaneously relaxing blood vessel walls. Studies from the National Institutes of Health found it reduces nighttime cortisol and improves sleep quality in adults over 65 by up to 39%. Think of it as a gentle hand on your heart's shoulder, telling it that it is safe to rest tonight. I want to close with something I say to every single patient I sit across from. Regardless of age or condition, it is never too late. That is not empty encouragement. That is biological reality. The human body, even at 75, even at 80, even at 85, retains a remarkable capacity to heal and adapt when we remove the things harming it. Your heart wants to beat steadily for decades more. Your brain wants to remain sharp and clear. Your legs want to carry you to your grandchildren's birthdays and your garden in the morning and the porch in the evening. Every single change I described today, stopping the late meals, adjusting medication timing, staying hydrated, eliminating screens, changing sleep position, and protecting your emotional peace, each is within your reach tonight. Not next month, tonight. You did not make it to this age by being weak. You made it here because you are resilient. The people who love you need you to keep going. Not just to be alive, but to be present and vital and yourself. That is what these habits protect. Not just your heartbeat, but your life. All the scientific studies I referenced are linked in the description below. Please share this video with someone you love. A spouse, a sibling, a friend. You may never know whose life it saves. If you are not subscribed yet, please do that right now by clicking the button below. We release new content every week dedicated entirely to helping you live longer, stronger, and with the independence you deserve. Before you go, leave me a comment right now. Tell me, which of these 6 habits were you most surprised by? And are you going to make any changes tonight? I read every single comment and I look forward to hearing from you. Take good care of yourselves. I will see you in the next one.